Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a review on D&D Beyond. This website is insane. Now, nothing's perfect, but the good values of this heavily outweigh the bad. This website is for any D&D session of the like. It is for beginners, veterans. It is amazing how much this website has to offer. In this website, you can just easily make an account, and from there, you have access to a lot of things. Now, before I start to get into a lot of the details of this website, I am going to first, instead of going out with the good news, I'm going to start with the bad news, because to be honest, this bad news, while nothing is perfect, yes, it's heartbreaking for some people. Now, by some people, I'm more pointing towards the veterans who may have been playing D&D for a long time. Or maybe not even necessarily a long time, even just a couple months, and this could be heartbreaking. Now, the bad news is, while you have access to a lot of things on this website, to have access to everything, one, you have to own the book. Now, people may be like, but hey, I already own the book. What does that mean for this? Now, you see, that's the problem and why I'm pointing this towards veterans. If you already own the book in real life, you have to buy it again on the website. That is the problem. Now, the reason why this is heartbreaking for some people, me included whenever I first started using this website, we've been playing D&D for a while now, which means if you keep up on the issues, they're about $20 to $30 a piece. It gets expensive, and me owning about like 8 copies, if not more, of many different books, including probably like 4 players' handbooks, just because we kept getting players' handbooks, it was a bit heartbreaking for me, because some of the content that you need to use is within the player's handbook. And it's sad because a lot of different places you can just get a player's handbook for free now. But for here, you have to buy the player's handbook, which is $30. This is where the bad news is. Everything else about this website is amazing. This is the only bad thing, is that if you're a veteran player or anything like that, you have to buy the books again. This is the only sad part. Because if you're like me and you own a lot of the books, instead of just the player's handbook, you have to buy all of them again on the website, so the website knows you have access to that content. Now, you can either buy them individually, and this is what I would recommend for people. Don't buy them unless you need them. If you're going to be doing something, or you're going to be creating a character that requires something, then buy the book. But don't just jump ship and buy everything, because in a lot of cases, you really do not need everything. If anything, buy the player's handbook and you will be good for like 70% of the stuff. Now, the one thing is, this is the Legendary Bundle. This is just about everything added up together. And that's a lot of money. At least to me. Some people watching this may be rich. Some people may have money to throw around. $454 is expensive. Be it as it may, it's nice to be able to buy everything at once. You do not need to buy this. Unless you are damn certain you are going to use everything, do not buy this. It's not worth it. Sure, it adds up everything else's prices to get this amount, but it's not worth it, because this may give you everything, but you may never use this book or these two books. So that's already, what, like $40 worth of stuff that you're never going to touch. I mean, I'm not saying you specifically aren't going to use these books. It's just there's a possibility of buying something that you're never going to use. And I wouldn't want that on someone. Just look through the stuff, and if you ever know you are going to need something, then pick up the book. You do not have to be rushed to buy these things. But if there's anything I would say that you're probably going to have to pick up, it's probably going to be the player's handbook. Just about everything you would want is in this. Now, sure, you may want to pick up something else or splurge from time to time. Sure, go ahead. But you do not need this $450 bundle. My bad. It's cool, but don't do it. Okay, now that we have the bad news out of the way, let's get into all the amazing stuff about this website. Okay, so first things first. After you get past creating an account and all this stuff, you end up at the home screen, and it's just some cool stuff that you can get into reading if you're ever curious or stuff like that. Every week they release new encounters that DMs can look at, and hey, you may want to use this encounter in your session from time to time. It's just cool little tidbits. But the more important things here are the creation. The creation is amazing. It has access to homebrew, custom-made stuff, and just about everything in between. It can go from everything that is just standard to the farthest thing out of your imagination that you could think of. If there is something you want to make, it is probably in here. If it isn't in here, you can make it yourself. This has so much, there's so much in here that you can work with. But instead of me just talking about it, let's get into it a bit. So we'll just use one of my characters that I made a little while ago. So after you create a character, you can go to your characters. It's in a nice little page, and you can get more slots for characters, but you aren't going to need it. So, first things first. This thing takes you step by step through your character creation. This is amazing. One of the things that it asks you when you first start is if you want tooltips on. You do. It's amazing. It's great. This thing goes so in-depth with character creation, it's insane. Now, whenever you're done with character creation, it gives you this amazing character sheet. The reason why this is amazing is because of how much detail is put into it. To a veteran, this may just be a normal character sheet. Sure. Now, the thing is, veterans don't have a lot of problem of knowing what something does, but people forget. This is more so pointed towards beginners. This is great because after a step-by-step character creation, it gives you this. And if you're ever confused on anything on this character sheet, it has descriptions for you. If you don't know how you have +4 initiative in this case, if you don't know how you have this, or what it's used for, we're going at beginner's case here, you can just left-click it. You can left-click just about anything that you see on this page, and it will pull up a description detailed about 1, what it's used for, 2, why it's good, and 3, how you have that amount. This is really good, because some people really need to know what certain things do. So if somebody is ever confused about doing something, they can just left-click on it and read it. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it's really, really good for getting used to the game. This cuts out a lot of the learning curve for beginners, which is amazing. Because whenever you're a beginner, everybody has that stage where you start a game, and if it was a real life D&D campaign just at a table with a bunch of friends, right? Some of these people may have played more than you. Maybe this is your first time. You're fumbling through character sheet papers and you're trying to figure out what you have in your inventory, what your stats are, what you look like, all this. And if anybody has done this before, they know that real life character sheets are a pain. Whether you can't write small or you have bad penmanship like I do, it's hard to keep track of a lot of things on character sheets, such as items and equipment. This can get really bad really fast, because you may misplace an item or erase something and forget to write it back. This can get bad. On this, it makes it so simplistic because it keeps track of everything over here. If you just click on equipment, it will take you to everything in your inventory. This is useful. This is very good. This can tell you how much something weighs, how much of it you have, and how much it's worth. These are all very nice, and not only that, it'll tell you what's equipped and what isn't equipped. This is also very useful. So it will keep track of everything you have. My character is not that high a level, he's only 3rd level, but it's still good to be able to keep track of everything he has on him. And it'll have different colors for the names, depending on rarity of the item that you have, like this potion of water breathing. If I click it, it'll tell me what it does, tell me that it's a potion, obviously, and it'll tell me that it's an uncommon item. This is very useful because now I know, hey, this is cool if I found it, but I bought this one. It was expensive, well, not too expensive, but it was very useful considering I am very cautious. These descriptions are your best friend. It can tell you how heavy your armor is, what it gives you, like AC, armor class, and just overall anything you would want to know, you will know. It has attunement slots for things that you have attuned to your character. This is also amazing for keeping track of items. You can have specific possessions that your character may have started with due to backstory or something like that. This is very nice, which helps you keep track of just little things that make you feel good. Now, other things that are very nice is it keeps track of features and traits. So you can always look back and see what your character has. And over by the modifiers for your strength and dex and constitution, it can keep down here little footnotes that have, if your race or anything like that gives you anything. So my character right now is a half-elf. He has advantage against being charmed, and magic cannot put me to sleep. This is something to always, keep a good mind of, because this can just swing a fight. If the first thing an enemy does is cast a charm on you, this can make or break a fight, which is why it is really important to keep track of certain things that you have advantage on or anything like that. Any other things, you can just left click on and it'll tell you in detail what they do. It's amazing. There's descriptions that'll go into your character and backstory and what you look like and stuff like that, traits, flaws, bonds. This is all part of the in-depth character creation, which we will get into in a minute. Then there are notes, which is just more backstory stuff. Enemies and allies you may have through backstory, and just all these other cool things that you put your heart into. Creatures, if you start to get into a fight that your DM just threw at you, and you don't know what something is, you can just type it here, and you will learn about it. So, let's do a troll. Oh, sorry. I have to manage creatures, my bad. So, you can add a creature, choose category, let's say, what? No. Well, this is also really good for familiars if you're a wizard or anything like that. So, you can have this entire list of stuff to look at, or you can specifically type in something, and these things get insane, and it's really nice to have another thing that keeps track of companions that you may have, or familiars. Because some DMs are nice and will let you have a bunch of companions, and sometimes DMs give you too many companions. But let's get into... it also has a spell list for anybody who fancies a magic character or bard or anything like that that has spells out the wazoo and it's hard to keep track of. It also keeps track of spell slots, which is very nice. But let's get into character creation. This is one of the best parts about this website. This is probably my favorite thing about this website. So, let's go back to character creation. First, it'll ask you to make a character name, your character preferences, where you want your sources to be from. So this is something that I will describe now because I did not know at first. Having the red switch means it's turned on. Having the gray switch means it's turned off. It doesn't tell you anywhere, but it's nice to know. It's a very small thing and you'd find it out really fast. But it's just something good to throw in at the start. That's the only thing that I feel they should have thrown in here is, like, if you hovered over it, it should say on or off. That's it. What type of XP your campaign is going to be using. If it's after you kill something, you get XP, or after you hit a certain part in the story, you'll hit a milestone to level up. This is cool for different DMs to kind of mess around with. Hit point types. This is if you're rolling for HP or if you gain a fixed amount whenever you level up. Just some more basic stuff. Just whether you want to use weight or not. Ignore coin weight. This is something that a lot of DMs tend to do because a lot of people don't like being rich and then moving a centimeter with all of their movement because they're carrying 1.5 bazillion pounds of gold. Next, there's just basic creation stuff, and then there's this. This is a very important part, and probably the only thing that actually, this is probably the most important thing of the first page, and it is character privacy. What this does is, if you have it on private, you're the only one that can see your character. But if you have it on public, then this means if you create a character and you're at your character sheet, you can grab the link and send it to someone, and they will be taken directly to your character sheet. They cannot change things in your character sheet, but they can look at it. This is good to send it to a DM. Well, this is somewhat good to send to a DM because then they can track your character. This is good and bad depending on the DM you have, but that's for a different time. That changes from every person. Whether the DM is going to look specifically at your stats and figure out how to ruin you, or if the DM is just trying to keep track of you. Alright, so let's go to the next one. Races. This is where you can choose any race you want that you have access to through content, and whenever you choose them, it'll tell you a little bit about them and what racial traits they give you. So, bonus charisma, and +1 to 2 other ability scores, plus dark vision, fey ancestry, and skill versatility. These are just nice things to have, and they will change depending on what race you choose. I was always a sucker for half-elf and stuff like that, just because I like to play stealthy characters. But, be it as it may, it's very good because it gives you detail and it tells you what you need to know, generally things that are hard to keep track of. It'll tell you what all of these do. So dark vision lets me see as though it was day. Well, it allows me to see in dim light within 60 feet. So it's nice. It's just little passive things that are useful. Next, it'll take you to classes. This is really useful because it allows you to easily multi-class because it'll keep track of each class individually. I'm only level 3, but I took first level fighter and 2 levels into bard afterwards. So it's just really good for keeping track of multi-classing and Even if you don't want to multi-class, it's good just because it keeps track of everything, and whenever you're leveling up, it takes a lot less time to level up on here than it would looking for what you have access to upon level up, because it runs you through everything on here. Next, it'll take you to your ability scores, and all the different ways you can choose your ability scores, whether you want to roll them or you want to do point buy. I like point buy because it lets you kind of guarantee that you're going to get a certain stat. But it's just generally useful. Good for beginners and setups and stuff like that. Next, we have description, which will just help you with background and stuff like that. Nothing too special, but depending on your character and how much time you put into it, sometimes you want a snazzy background. It happens. Next, equipment. This is where you choose your starting equipment and stuff like that before a campaign starts. And whether you're going to be taking, the starting equipment or the starting gold. Just a lot of useful things that, get your character up and going. And then finally, after you're done with that, it'll say what's next. There's export character sheet, which will basically print your character sheet if you want a real life copy, if you have a scanner or anything like that. So if your computer is hooked up to a printer or anything like that, and you're going to be doing this in real life and people don't want you sitting on a laptop or on your phone or something like that, you can print a physical character sheet if you want the physical character sheet. Or, the other option is view character sheet. This takes us to our character sheet after you are done, back to here where you can click on anything that you need to know. This is the main basis of D&D Beyond. It's very simplistic and very useful. If anything, I feel a lot of people should use this, even if just to make a character sheet. That's it. Not only that, you have access to your own campaigns. These are very useful because you can just run them inside of D&D Beyond. It's very versatile on what this website can do. So these were just test campaigns where I was messing around with different characters and stuff like that, just basic stuff. So these are just easy little campaigns you can put together, and it'll keep track of all the different players, however you may have, and who is in the campaign. So if someone's character dies, you can kick them out if it's a one life, or you can add in new characters so you can keep track of their stuff. And whenever you're all inside of a campaign, you can look at someone else's character sheet. So if you want to see what one of your party members has, you can check to see what your party member has. This is very useful considering you may want to do something special with them, but you don't know if they have this skill or not, or you want to see if someone has a health potion on them, so on and so forth. You can't take control of their character, but this is useful if you just want to see what they have without really asking them outright. You could just quickly look for what you want to see and then just get back to whatever you're doing. Very quick, very easy. There's a lot of different sources that you can use, which are just all the books, and it'll tell you basic game rules and stuff like that for anything you need to know. What your race can do, class can do, spells, what spells what classes can have, rules on certain magic items, equipment, just all the basic stuff that if you ever run into a problem, you can look up really quick. So it's very useful. But that is about it. It's not gonna be a long video. Even though it's such an amazing website, it's not gonna be very long because they make it so easy. It is such a good website that even though there's the downside of having to buy the books again, I would still recommend it. I would recommend it 10 out of 10 times. Even if I knew somebody who owned all the books already, I would probably still tell them to take a look at the website. Then again, if they owned all the books already, they probably knew what they were doing really well. But that wouldn't stop me from saying, hey, check out this website sometime. But yeah, that is about it for this video. It's a very good website. It's www.dndbeyond.com. And if any of you feel like getting into D&D and you're a little bit worried about dragging other people behind, take a look at this. It is very useful. Well, thank you everybody for stopping by and watching this review, and I hope that everybody has a great day. Thank you. See you around.